Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so very much for tuning in. We have some very, very interesting news to talk about. William Barr defending the Durham probe special counsel despite the acquittal. And to my super chat, I can't do this without you, ladies and gentlemen. So if you want to support these live streams, if you enjoy these live streams, your super chat is greatly appreciated. If you want to talk about the acquittal, the Durham probe, we're going to talk about Elon Musk and Microsoft's CEO and what's going on between them as well. But hit subscribe if you're new to this channel. And ladies and gentlemen, very, very interesting. I think a discussion that a lot of people might roll their eyes and say, well, nothing's ever going to happen. Nothing's ever going to happen as this little mosquito flies around me. Rome wasn't built in a day. And so you can't expect, If John Durham needs to change his strategy, then he must do so. He probably learned a great deal for future indictments. The issue here is privilege, what Democrats claim to be against, and in which they embody. Privilege and setting up and framing Trump in a very legal or a lawful manner. So they purchased a Steele dossier that wasn't against the law. They funneled the Steele dossier into the U.S. government. That almost certainly is a crime, but the manner in which they did so was lawful. They had Comey and Strzok and McCabe and Clapper, and they were very suspicious of Trump. And they found out that Trump was benefiting from the DNC emails that showed Bernie Sanders was cheated. And Comey had a meeting with Trump in which Trump said that he demanded loyalty, and James Comey wasn't going to give his loyalty to anybody. So Trump did a lot of bad things. He did a lot of bad things. And so there you go. I mean, it's like. The Comey letter, the Comey memo, the Comey letter was part of a cover-up. So they bought a Steele dossier that years later they had to pay a fine, an FEC fine over, because they used campaign funding and donations to buy a completely debunked dossier, funnel that into the U.S. government, and then, of course, try to set up and frame Trump in terms of servers, taking the media attention momentarily away, a split second away from Clinton's servers with top secret and special access program intelligence, then tweeting about it. Then they investigated Trump, primarily also because of a meeting that Alexander Downer had with George Papadopoulos. And so you have a situation, ladies and gentlemen, where they investigated Trump because of a hoax, a myth, a fantasy, where they thought he had something to do with the DNC emails being published. And they investigated Trump also because they thought that he was asking another country to find Clinton's deleted emails. Both of which have nothing to do with national security. Clinton's deleted emails are an example of a gigantic, enormous national security risk. So you're looking, ladies and gentlemen, at a widespread plot. People conspired against Trump. They utilized a dossier that was funneled through media, purchased by Trump's direct political rival to investigate Trump. Now imagine if the reverse were true. Imagine if you could go ahead and investigate Democrats with a dossier purchased by Rudy Giuliani. And imagine if you had John Ratcliffe state that Mashed Potato Brains Joe could have been influenced by China or any other country. Imagine that. Imagine what media would say if if you had Republicans doing exactly what happened to Democrats. They wouldn't allow it. They would say, that's ridiculous, that's not fair, this is not right, what are they doing? They simply wouldn't allow it. But see, Durham has to change his strategy. He cannot play small ball. He can't go in. This is not the Mueller probe. The Mueller probe convicted people on lying to Peter Strzok. Michael Flynn was convicted of lying to Peter Strzok. Okay? Or pled guilty, to lying to Peter Strzok, who was kicked off of the Mueller probe. Strzok was so biased against Trump, he was kicked off of the Mueller probe. Okay? You had people who said we'll stop Trump. I mean, what he should do is just indict people under 18 U.S. Code 371 or statutes that involve government officials and operatives of a political campaign conspiring with one another. That's all he needed to do. And he could have then obtained a text message. Or he could. I don't understand also how he doesn't have. How did Durham not have all the phone records of James Baker? Well, maybe because Baker wasn't, on trial. But I mean, he didn't even obtain the phone records of Sussman. So I mean, I don't know. It's like, we'll read this and maybe we'll get a better glimpse into what William Barr is saying. William Barr says Durham accomplished something far more important than Sussman conviction. Former Attorney General William Barr praised the case brought by Special Counsel John Durham against Democratic cyber security lawyer Michael Sussman, even though the prosecutor lost the legal fight this week. More significant than securing a conviction, Barr reasoned Wednesday, is how Durham has pulled back the curtain regarding the extent to which Hillary Clinton's 2016 presidential campaign and its allies spread theories tying rival Donald Trump to Russia in the final months of the election, as well as the conduct of the Bureau. But see, again, we knew this. So it's good that he's defending Durham, but at the same time, we already knew this. So it's like a little bit annoying. If you've watched this channel for like 3 years, 4 years, I've been saying the exact same thing. The exact same thing. In 2018, in 2017, when the Durham probe, started in 2017, the Mueller probe. The Mueller probe was started in 2017? And I said right then and there that it wasn't going to do anything but serve as a public relations tool for the Democratic Party. When Mueller was started in 2017, right? Let's see. So May of 2017, okay? You had a Republican House, by the way. Herschel Ballard! Herschel, thank you. Thank you, Herschel. And to my super chat, thank you. Can't do this without you. To the new members of this channel, or the members of this channel, thank you. Become a member. So thank you, Herschel. I'm very proud of John Durham, and I do take responsibility for his appointment, Barr told Fox News host Jesse Waters. I think he and his team did an exceptionally able job, both of digging out very important facts and presenting a compelling case to the jury. Sussman was charged with lying to the Bureau about whom he was representing when, in September 2016, he presented internet data that suggested now discredited link between Trump and Russia's Alpha Bank. In particular, Sussman was indicted on charges of concealing his Clinton's 2016 presidential campaign and Tech Executive One from FBI General Counsel James Baker. Sussman denied lying to the Bureau and pleaded not guilty. The problem was the Bureau knew, so did Baker. So you're not really deceiving anyone who's in on it. You can't say two bank robbers are talking to one another and one is actually deceiving the other. They're both in on it. So that's something that is bizarre. So the jury in Washington, D.C. sided with Sussman Tuesday. Despite being falsely accused, I believe that justice ultimately prevailed in my case, Sussman said in a brief. He literally texted that he was coming on his own. And then you have people like Joe Scarborough who's like, this is embarrassing. Joe Scarborough doesn't care the Steele dossier was utilized to investigate Trump. He doesn't even know what it is, or he doesn't care. So if Trump purchased a dossier to get the Bureau to investigate Clinton, he would care. So, I mean, you have these people who, they think that they have the right, like you have all of D.C. media, government officials, they have the right to treat Donald Trump in a way they would never allow others to treat them. And that's the issue. And it's not just people, it's not, ladies and gentlemen, it's not just Durham. You need Trump Republicans in the House. You need Trump Republicans in the Senate. You need a new Senate majority leader. You do not, and Mitch McConnell is not going to accomplish much. You definitely need to replace Kevin McCarthy. I don't know how Kevin McCarthy, or especially, I don't know how Mitch McConnell gets reelected all the time. Or they keep their positions. I don't get it. I don't know how. Herschel Ballard, thank you. I just don't understand. But you need a House, a Republican House, like that actually investigates Democrats. And like Durham needs to go after top officials. This is like, what's the difference between going after a top official set up and framed Trump, or going after Sussman, a guy nobody heard of, and losing? It makes no sense at all. You already have enough evidence. You have John Ratcliffe, who can testify. He's the former director of national intelligence. You have Kash Patel, you have Devin Nunes, you have all of these people who can testify. You have Andrew McCabe, who lied 3 times to the Bureau. A man James Comey is just waiting to testify against. You have other people at that law firm who purchased the Steele dossier, and then the DNC was fined, so was Clinton's campaign. There was not a shred of evidence, like this nonsense that Trump aided and abetted another country. This is propaganda. This is doublespeak. He didn't aid and abet any other country. This is like Lincoln Project talking points. He didn't help a foreign power, an adversary in our time of despair. They cheated Bernie Sanders. That's what this is all about. They cheated Bernie Sanders. And, they then, and then people knew about that because of the DNC emails. But nobody involved with publishing the DNC emails, nobody involved in Trump's campaign, nobody was ever indicted for conspiring or working alongside Russian intelligence officials. It never happened. Barr, who appointed Durham to investigate the origins of the conduct of the Russia inquiry, said the special counsel accomplished something far more important than a conviction by bringing out the truth across 2 areas. First, I think he crystallized the central role played by Hillary campaign in launching as a dirty trick the whole Russiagate collusion narrative and fanning the flames of it. Well, we knew that, he said. And second, I think he exposed really dreadful behavior by supervisors of the Bureau. We knew that, the senior ranks of the Bureau. We knew that, and who knowingly used this information to start an investigation of Trump and then dupe their own agents by lying to them and refusing to tell them what the real source of that information was, and that was appalling. We knew all of this. It's appalling. But, again, he needs the political will. These people, you could be like, these are like, myself included, voices in the wilderness. Like, there has to be political momentum. That's the only way. And we'll get that. We'll get that in 2022. Because, unfortunately, the economy is going to continue to tank. Unfortunately, the economy will continue to tank. Things will get worse. From a geopolitical perspective, things will get worse, unfortunately. So, things will unfortunately get worse. I don't want that to happen, but that's going to move the electorate far away from Democrats. Okay, if you vote Democrat in 2022, you just want a horrible economy, terrible geopolitics, terrible foreign policy. They've done literally nothing but make things worse in terms of economic policy, foreign policy. Society is crumbling, and they have no answers but the usual apoplectic, hysterical response to everything. They shut down and ended economic activity like this. The way Democrats operate is you have to go to the most counterproductive, extreme response to a serious problem. So you see like catastrophes and horrors taking place. Well, ban this. That'll fix it. Like, no, it won't at all. It will not at all. It'll only make law-abiding citizens it'll put law-abiding citizens at a disadvantage because guess what? Criminals don't care about law, so they'll obtain anything they want, especially people who've lost their mind and want to be known as the most evil human beings who've ever walked this earth. Just ban everything. That'll work. They look to government to help, but you saw like government, we'll just say a local agency, took an hour. And there had to be a different government agency, helping out. I'm not going to get into it. But you saw that you can't rely on the government. You can't rely on the government to keep you safe. Democrats they only want a Democratic government to keep them safe and happy. If it's a Republican government, they don't want that. They want a Democratic government to keep them safe and happy. They want appeals to authority when the individual who is deemed an expert or authority sides with them. Then they care. If there's any dissent, no, they don't want that. If the government is run by a political opponent, no, they don't want that. They don't want that. So, Barr has long signaled skepticism of whether the Trump-Russia investigation was open on sound legal footing. It was never open on sound legal footing. The notion that George Papadopoulos, the notion that he should be investigated, that he should have been investigated for what Alexander Downer said to him, is the stupidest thing I've ever heard in my life. Papadopoulos was framed, big time. And Michael Flynn was too. My God, Michael Flynn was also. Peter Strzok and another person goes and meets Michael Flynn. I mean, you have like literally an extension of the Democratic Party is not only the Washington Post and the New York Times, but it's the Federal Bureau of Investigation. I mean, they have like every single, this has nothing to do with national security. And then you have journalists who are like, our nation was under assault by a hostile foreign country. Well, what happened? They published the DNC emails. Oh, no. They cheat Bernie Sanders, and then they claim that cheating Bernie Sanders, that people knowing about this, is a national security issue. Hedy Lamar, hello. Hello, everybody. Hi, Tones. Everybody, hello. Hi, Caroline. So, Justice Department Inspector General Michael Hart determined there was insufficient cause for the Bureau's counterintelligence investigation in the Trump campaign. So, but both Barr and Durham publicly disagreed. There was sufficient cause. No, there wasn't sufficient cause. Both Barr and Durham publicly disagreed with that conclusion in late 2019. Of course there wasn't sufficient cause. Simply saying you're suspicious of somebody is not a reason to investigate. You need some evidence. You can't create the evidence by saying, well, we have a dossier that Clinton gave us. And we have Alexander Downer who said George Papadopoulos said something. So we have to go ahead and investigate. This is not national security. That's why, in terms of foreign policy, this administration is a catastrophe. They have no concept of foreign policy because they have no concept of national security. They don't know. You look at oil prices going through the roof. We might have a fuel shortage. JP Morgan said there was going to be an economic hurricane this year. Could be an economic hurricane. Suddenly people are saying the same things that I've said in September of 2021. I said everything's going to crash. And it's pretty unbelievable. It's like the adults are in charge and literally the sky is falling. People are paying more at the gas tank, more at the supermarket. Life is not better. It's less safe. You have to worry about all of these bizarre things are taking place. And it's like almost as if society is breaking down. And Democrats, they're just happy they're in power. They don't care. They don't realize that they won't be in power in like a couple of months. They don't get that. Justice Department, okay, the Alpha Bank matter. Ties to the Clinton team may not have spurred the Bureau investigation, but Barr recently said he accepted the chance to become Attorney General because he believed a constitutional crisis was afoot. I think whenever you think of Trump, the fact is the whole Russiagate thing was a grave injustice. It appears to be a dirty political trick that was used first to hobble him and then potentially drive him from office. Well, of course. William Barr could have done a lot more, but at least he got Durham. And then you say, well, Durham hasn't done anything. He's done. At least we found out in a court of law that Robbie Mook stated Clinton was involved in spreading salacious, false allegations. So that could be part of the 18 U.S. Code 371 statutes. Whether it will or not, we don't know. We need there needs to be some person that comes out from the Bureau or from Clinton's campaign or and says, okay, you know what? This is what happened. They were in on it. They didn't like Trump. They wanted to go after Trump. They want to utilize the United States government after Trump. If you could get that person, then you could get many people convicted. Many people convicted. But again, you're talking about I want a Hillary Clinton, Donald Trump 2024. I want a Clinton Trump 2024. Or Clinton DeSantis. Because I just want everyone on the left to vote for Clinton again. And there's other reasons too. We're living in 2016. It's like this perpetual 2016 we're living in. Another disclosure of the Washington Post, Byron in York writes, Tuesday. So let's see. Okay, Tuesday relates to the Bureau's openness to the information. We learned that senior Bureau agents were involved in the investigation. One agent sent another note to another agent about the Alpha Bank. People on the 7th floor, to include director, fired up about this server, reached out and put tools on. It's not an option. We must do it. The building's 7th floor is where top management, including James Comey, had offices. Well, there you go. It's not that difficult. If Durham keeps on going after low level, look, we didn't learn. See, look, we didn't know that until the Sussman trial. So that's good. Maybe there's a method to the madness, and everyone is just, including myself, is a little bit too impatient. There could be a method to the madness. Eric, thank you. There could be a method to the madness. That's the thing, there could be, some kind of reason. There could be numerous reasons why Durham is going and starting with small fish, starting with people like Sussman or Danchenko, and then perhaps moving his way up. It's not that difficult, for example, to indict Andrew McCabe. James Comey already will testify against him, okay? And Comey will probably be more like cutthroat than Mark Elias was. You had Mark Elias and Robbie Mook testify against Sussman, and they probably did Sussman a favor in a way, going on and on about how another country infiltrated our 2016, and also what Durham has to do is he has to actually show the court that the intelligence officials were confident. They weren't certain. There was no direct evidence. James Clapper told Chuck Todd there was no direct evidence that about Trump working with Russia. There was no direct evidence at all. But yet they still investigated him. That's the thing. There was no direct evidence. There was no direct evidence at all. But there was no direct evidence at all, but they still investigated him. That's the problem. That's a big problem. A huge problem. Okay? But like, for example, Andrew McCabe, he got money from Democrats in Virginia. It's not that difficult. It's really not that difficult to kind of understand what's going on. He got money from Democrats in Virginia. Okay? And so then he had to recuse himself. Then he lied 3 times to the Bureau. I mean, like, McCabe lied, Sussman lied, they don't. And then you see media is like, Durham was a failure, ha 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 ha. They don't realize why he didn't get the indictment. He didn't get the indictment because nobody believed James Baker. And nobody believed the Bureau was duped or deceived because they wanted to investigate Trump. The thing is, he has to indict people who investigated Trump knowing that he was innocent. Or investigated Trump in a manner no other candidate has ever been investigated. If no other candidate has ever been treated like Trump, and the rebuttal is, well, no other candidate did what Trump did. The question then is, what did Trump do? What evidence did they have? If they're going to always fall back on, if they're going to always fall back on, well, we had to investigate because we were suspicious, then it's, well, what were you suspicious about? The Steele dossier was purchased by Clinton. Were you suspicious then? Were you suspicious then? I mean, it's pretty easy. It's not like, I agree with you. Thundar, I agree with you. It is slam dunk, but maybe he just wants to, build a case for an eventual 18 U.S. Code 371. Maybe that's what's going on. I don't know. I really don't know. I can't tell you. I mean, it's very difficult. It's very difficult to kind of see where this is heading. We know that the future is bright because at least you have a Trump Republican House and a Trump Republican Senate. They'll impeach Biden. So that's not like, they're definitely going to impeach mashed potato brains. Without a doubt. Without a doubt. Probably numerous times. Because unlike with Trump, they have evidence against this president. They had no evidence. They had an ellipsis. They had a phone transcript. And they had a horrible event that they pinned on Trump that he had nothing to do with directly. So he said peacefully, but again, it's like, that was an out-of-control day that Trump did not cause. Okay, he can't control people just like Democrats can't control thousands upon thousands who, perhaps didn't demonstrate peacefully and led to billions of dollars in property damage. Well, it's generally, look, the most powerful oftentimes escape circumvent justice. But it doesn't look it doesn't always, like, Nixon was the most powerful person, one of the most powerful people in the world, if not the most powerful person in the world, and he had to resign. Bill Clinton, oh, what is his? I mean, he got caught with perjury. So it's not always like, it's not always that the most powerful circumvent repercussion. That's not always the case. I mean, it is good that you have William Barr defending the Durham probe special counsel, because you have somebody who was Attorney General and who also understands, like, William Barr is a Bush Republican. Like, he's maybe a bridge from the never Trumpers to Trump. William Barr is like this bridge. And Sir Felix, hello. William Barr is like this bridge from the never Trumpers to Trump Republicans. And if he can see that there was, like, potential seditious activity, so here, William Barr said Durham uncovered seditious activity. He said, I also believe it is seditious, but he stressed criminality would have to be determined in court. See, what they do is they have people who are loyal to a certain ideology or a certain political party. So Comey, McCabe, Strzok, Clapper, Brennan, for whatever reason, whether they think that's where the power rested or they think that they, could benefit most in terms of media coverage, or they really believed in the ideology behind the Democratic Party, they sided with the Democratic Party. They utilized government to side with the Democratic Party. It wasn't about national security. It had nothing to do with national security. But the problem is proving that they were utilizing their government posts to go after a political opponent. It's not that difficult, actually, but you have to prove it in a court of law. It's really not that difficult. You have to prove it in a court of law. And let's see. Although Durham has left his role as U.S. Attorney, after the Trump administration ended, the Biden administration let the inquiry continue. After Barr appointed him special counsel, the endeavor has been criticized by Democrats and some legal observers who claim the inquiry is meant to undercut. Yes, it is meant to. That's what I can't stand. I can't stand that. Undercut Mueller's investigation. Yes, of course it's meant to undercut. What's wrong with that? Mueller should never have been appointed. There was never any ties. And then it's like this circular type of logic, like, well, Mueller found very suspicious ties. Well, then why didn't he indict those people? Well, he couldn't indict them, but you know what? He was suspicious. Like, well, you know what? The Uranium One deal is infinitely more suspicious than anything Trump ever did. And Democrats don't care about that. Like, they literally sold uranium. They were literally, like President Obama did not veto the sale. And there was a sale after money was given to the foundation. See, again, it's right there. They're hiding. The best thing the Clintons, like, the reason they always get away, which is brilliant, is they hide in plain sight. It's like right in front of you. So they actually don't have to do that much hiding. It's right there. So, and that's one of the reasons also I want a Hillary Trump 2024. I want the country to do it all over again. I just want the country to do it all over again. We need a repeat. Blacksmith, that's true. That's true. That's probably another good reason, or for them. But yeah, I mean, it's like It's like Durham has one other active prosecution, a case against a key source for Christopher Steele's anti-Trump dossier. Research for the now discredited dossier was funded by the Democratic National Committee. See, nobody cares about this in media. It's like they get glossy-eyed or glassy-eyed. The two were fined by the FEC for not properly disclosing those expenditures. Durham has obtained a single guilty plea, which came from lawyer Kleinsmith, who admitted to altering an email about a Trump campaign aide under government surveillance. Barr suggested the lingering cloud of collusion had wide-ranging consequences that stretch to this day with what's going on in Europe. It was engrossed injustice, and it hurt the United States in many ways, including what we're seeing in Europe. It distorted our foreign policy and so forth. Well, I mean, William Barr could have done more, but he did. See, that's another thing. Like, Trump on Twitter, at least Barr got Durham going, but he could have done so much more. But Trump on Twitter, one thing he did is it's like he was dissing Jeff Sessions every 2 seconds. But it didn't matter. Like, the point is, if you're the United States, if you're the president of the United States, find some way. Utilize your position as president of the United States to influence somebody in your cabinet. Don't just tweet Jeff Sessions stinks. I can't believe he stinks so bad. It's like, okay, so the whole world finds out. What is the world doing? We're busy trying to feed our families. What can we do about it? We can't do anything about it. So that's Trump was a great president, but he did so many things that, like, in hindsight, he could have just what he should have done is the following. If he really felt the Mueller probe was, a catastrophe, he should have fired Mueller. And just, what? People would say, oh my God, he fired Mueller. And all you had to do, if they were going to impeach him anyway, they impeached him twice. So what was going to happen? What was Trump afraid of doing? They were going to impeach him anyway. Just like Republicans are going to impeach Biden, mashed potato brains. So, they were going to impeach him anyway. They were going to impeach him anyway. So, what was he afraid of? I don't get it. I don't understand. You have a situation where, in hindsight, he should never have abandoned Michael Flynn. If they wanted to go after Michael Flynn, he should have said, okay, go, you know what? He's my national security advisor. You're not going to just intimidate me right off the bat. If Jeff Sessions recused himself, he should have fired Jeff Sessions immediately. I know, I understand that. But people turned against him anyway. Every single day was hysterical media coverage. It was always apoplectic. I mean, there are things that President Trump, I think, could have done for himself that he didn't do. And in the beginning of his presidency, he could have, called their bluff, because that's basically what happened. Jack, hello. It was basically what happened is he could have called their bluff. He really could have called their bluff. Because they had nothing. Look, had he fired Mueller, okay, because he fired Comey, and that was he fired Comey, okay? Why couldn't he fire Sessions? If Sessions is going to recuse himself, if Sessions was going to recuse himself from the very beginning, if Sessions was going to recuse himself, if Sessions was going to recuse himself from the beginning, okay, the second Sessions recused himself, Trump should have fired him. Then what would have taken place? It would have taken a million years to get a new attorney general. So what? So what? Then he wouldn't have had an attorney general. But at the end of the day, his presidency, I mean, he accomplished, well, I guess he just wanted to accomplish a whole bunch of things. He did accomplish a lot. But you know what? Sessions didn't recuse himself until May. He should have told Sessions, too, you recuse, you're out. He should have been very clear. But again, like, you know what? He's a human being. It's his first time as president. And he was fired in the end, though. Like, what, 2 years, 3 years? When was Barr appointed? Sessions was there all 17, all 18. And then he was fired, you know, what, 19? But, so anyway, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so very much for tuning in. I'm not sure if I'll have a live stream tomorrow, but I'll probably have one Saturday or Sunday. So, have a beautiful evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you. And I will see you definitely for the upload. So check out Stock Market Crash channel below in the pinned comment. Bitcoin Crash channel to 10,000 or lower. And also be here for the upload tomorrow morning. So I'm going to do uploads tomorrow and the next day. And then maybe a live stream in about Saturday or so. Thanks, everybody. Have a great, great evening. And I